thank you so much for coming in today. So we know each other just not even that long now.
Yeah, not really.
Months, but we met through our partners, which is really cute. So thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
The first thing I wanted to talk about was obviously dancing on ice and where it all started. So you must have been doing skating from a young age.
Yes.
So how did you get into it? Tell us the story.
So my mom's actually a skating coach, which
way.
is really funny. So I was in diapers and ice skates, basically. I was 1 in 10 months. And my mom actually, she got a pair of display skates. I don't know, like little baby skates that were like hanging, and somehow put me in them. And it was kind of like daycare, like babysitting.
Yeah.
And then I showed that I was interested. And when I think I was like 6 or 7, and I said I wanted like a private lesson, like I wanted a real lesson, but I didn't want it with my mom. And she was like, oh, okay. She was like,
fuming at you.
She was like, I guess we're going to have to get her real lessons. And then I just went on to compete throughout my high school years up until I was 18. And then I got cast by Disney on Ice, which is so funny.
I love Disney. Yeah. My nan took me to see Aladdin on Ice.
Really?
And I've still got, so my granddad, I think I was about 3, I was really young, but I remember it so well because it's just like so magical, cool, isn't it? And then the ice rink, the dancing's incredible.
It's like the West End, but like on the ice, so it's
I
really
feel like
cool.
there's a bit more magic in it because it's on ice sometimes.
Oh, there's lots of special effects, yeah.
And my granddad bought me the Abu teddy bear, and I still have it to this day. Like, I loved it that much.
No, Disney on Ice was like one of my best experiences. And then from Disney, I ended up going to cruise ships. So
I have skating rinks on cruise ships.
Royal Caribbean has an ice rink. They basically have, I think there's 10 ships that have ice rinks on them. And we have 10 skaters on every ship. And it's a very, very like niche thing to get into. And it's hard to get into because Disney has a lot more skaters. And then from there, I just like sent out an audition tape to Dancing on Ice in Amsterdam, in Holland.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I was cast for that. Yeah. And we ended up winning. And then when this Dancing on Ice did I don't know what you call it, like a recap or like the redo it again.
Yeah, because it was on a few years, like they stopped it for a while and then it came back.
4 years or something. Yeah. But what's so funny is like when some of the skaters that are on the show now were on it, I was still in high school because it's been going, Dancing on Ice has been going on for so long. It's like such a legacy. Wow. So yeah, then I got a phone call and they must have gone through and like Googled and done something. I got a phone call and they said, would you like to come audition? And I did.
God, I love that.
Yeah.
So, really cool. With Dancing on Ice, you won, didn't like?
Yeah, just won this past season.
Yeah. Was it Joe Swash?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really incredible. What was that like, the feeling of actually winning the whole show?
So it was different because over here, Dancing on Ice is such a big deal. Like
it's huge.
Over in Amsterdam, it was a big deal, but it's a smaller country and, Holland is incredible, but everybody can kind of skate over there. Whereas here, people, skating's not a big thing. We know Torvill and Dean, but it's not a big deal. So when I came over here, my first season, I had Kem Setene, and I was like, wow, this is such a big deal over here. So winning the Dutch one was great, but winning this one was so much bigger. Like, it was just... the press picks it up, and it was something I had never really experienced before. Yeah. But I mean, that was probably...
It's a big show. I mean, I would always watch it. My nan was obsessed with it, bless her. But it's like, she was like, oh, go on that one day, darling. I was like, Nan, I'll break my neck. But
it's amazing. No, you should do it. It's one of those things you have to have no fear. You can't be scared.
Have you ever had guests on, or, your partners that are terrible at skating?
Oh, yeah.
Is that really difficult?
Yeah. They've all been really terrible in the beginning.
It's so funny to watch.
Kem Setene was horrible in the beginning. And nobody believes me. But the first time he got on the ice, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be really hard. Bambi. And then, they just get it. Sometimes I think it's work ethic with them. They have to really want to do it, and they have to really care about it. And if they don't really care, they're not going to improve as fast as everyone else. But it's almost like they hit this bar, and then the minute they hit that bar and they get over it, they just like soar through. Like once the show starts, they've been training for 6 weeks beforehand, but once the show starts, they just get better and better every week. And it's really cool to watch, to be honest. Yeah.
And it's all your input of like teaching them and, for the guys as well, you're having to teach them lifts and you're putting like your life in their care. Yeah. Have you had any bad accidents?
Yeah, I had 2. Well, this year I had probably like my worst ever skating fall ever in a million years. Joe and I were training for, it was like week 5 or week 6. And I loved our routine. It was super happy, but it's actually a really sad story. He found out about Caroline Flack that morning. So that morning, everybody was really upset, obviously. And the show has to go on. So we still had to do our rehearsals. Yeah. And it was 8 a.m. And he picked me up to do a trick that we had done a million times. And he just forgot. He just blanked. And so he actually... like my body bent back and he fell on top of me. Everyone thought I broke my neck. It was horrible. It was horrible. I think about it now and I still get jittery because it was the worst fall of my career. And then we had to go and do that again in the show, live show. And I was like, we can't change it now. It's too late. You can't just fix it. So bless them, you know.
I suppose when a lot's going on, it's easy to just...
Yeah, you blank. It's really hard for them to, you know, they've got the audience, they've got someone with them the whole time. Now I talk throughout the entire thing. I smile, but I'm actually going left, right, left. And that they have someone barking orders at them. Yeah. They've got a crowd. They've got judges on this side. And then if their brain's not completely focused, especially the men, there's massive injury risk, you know?
Yeah, it's quite a fine thing. I'm so scared for you.
Yeah, I know. It's okay. The boys will pick you up and you'll be fine. Because with pro man, it's a little bit different. Yeah. It is hard for the girl. They have to learn how to, like, you know, pick themselves up, and they have to learn how to hold themselves because they can mess up the lift. If they shift their weight, they can make the guy fall. But, you know, for the boy, they're thinking about keeping their feet on the ice and lifting a human above them.
And like, I mean, I go ice skating with my niece. I always take her ice skating. I bought my own little Bauer turbos and I shoot around thinking I'm an ice hockey skater. But if you have a little wobble...
Yeah.
I can't even imagine having to hold someone up at the same time.
It's very unforgiving. People don't realize, like, ice is unforgiving. And everything, people forget, too, like, you want to go this way, but your blades only go in one direction. So they try to get there, and then they just, you know, you don't realize it. And it can happen to pros. Like, we slip and fall. You know, we trip, we make mistakes.
Which is terrifying to think if you're going in as a newbie. Think, I'm going to be spun around in circles today. Let's go.
I hope they don't fall.
It's scary. Yeah, you got to put so much trust in each other. So I bet you build like really good relationships with everyone that comes in.
You definitely do. You have to. I've been really lucky. I've had 4 partners. I've done the show 4 times, and every single one of them I've loved. Yeah. And people don't realize you have to have an amazing like connection with them. Otherwise, there's no bond. If you don't have that bond, you don't have any trust. And if you don't have any trust, then you won't let them lift you. It's funny. Like I've seen other girl pros be like, absolutely not. I'm not letting him lift me because they don't have that friendship and that connection. And so it's a big deal.
It's like the trust thing where you fall backwards. You have to believe that they're going to catch you.
You have to know that they're going to do it. And I think I've been really lucky. Every partner I've had, I've always like gotten on with them really well, and they've become like family to me. So I'm okay. I'm like, it's all right. They can lift me up. I know he won't purposely mess up, you know?
Like, this guy's just going to break my neck.
It happens. Yeah, it happens.
So you've had quite an amazing story. I know that you were a stroke survivor. So you're young, so it's so unusual to hear that. It's normally you associate that with an older person.
Definitely.
So what happened with that? How did
that's a long story. So I was 24 and I was on cruise ships. So I had left Disney on Ice. I had gone to cruise ships, and I was just skating on the ship like a regular day. And it was actually towards the end of my like 8 months on this ship. I was on the Navigator of the Seas. And we finished a show. Well, basically, the show was going on. It's 45 minutes, and it's really high cardio. It's really fast. They're like really strenuous. And I got off the ice, and the show was over, and we all went to the backstage. There's 10 of us. And I went to take my skates off, and I realized I couldn't really feel my right hand to untie my skates. So I was like, that's weird. But I didn't think anything of it because the ice rink's cold. It's cold on a ship. Yeah. It really actually is. And so I started to take my costume off, and I went to hang it up on the rack. There's a costume rack backstage, and I couldn't lift my right arm. So I was like standing there. And it's funny now. It wasn't funny then. But I was standing there like almost naked in my underwear and my fishnets and my skates. And I was trying to put my costume on the rack, and I couldn't get my arm to put it on the rack. And I was like, that is so weird. So I went into the bathroom, and at this point, there's a lot of buzz behind the scenes when the show's over, and no one was really paying attention to me. And I went into the bathroom, and I looked at myself in the mirror, and I had absolutely no idea who I was. I was like, who the hell is that? And so there was a porcelain sink, and I started to slam my hand against the porcelain sink because I wanted to see if I could feel it. And then that was when one of my coworkers opened up the door in the bathroom and was like, Allie, are you okay? And I was standing there like completely face drooped, right side. Yeah, and he'd like basically picked me up and brought me down to the medical ward because there is one on the ship. And they drug tested me. They had no idea what was going on because I ended up laying flat, and I was able to speak a few words. And when I sat back up, I couldn't speak anything. So part of stroke symptoms are, you can get numbness on one side, you have facial drooping, you're unable to speak, your speech is slurred if you are speaking. And so I was showing all these symptoms, but nobody really knew because I was 24.
Yeah.
And I was in my skates.
So they didn't straight away say, oh, this is stroke symptoms.
No, they didn't know. So they actually ended up giving me an IV of Valium, which is a blood thinner. But they did it because I was starting to hyperventilate because I couldn't get any words out and I was starting to panic.
Was you aware still of like everything going on, but you just couldn't do it?
It was almost, to be honest, it's easy to talk about now, but then it was like I was in this massive bubble and I could see everything that was going on around me, but I had no idea how to tell everybody that I'm fine, I'm okay, but I can't tell you what I want to say. They ended up giving me a shot of Valium, and then that didn't really work. I fell asleep because Valium will knock you out. And then like 2 hours later, I woke up, or however many hours later, and I still wasn't speaking. And they brought me in like a pen and paper, and they just tried to say, what's your name, what's your parents' names, anything, and nothing was coming out. And then they gave me another shot of Valium because I got really upset, obviously, and I was just crying. So they knew that I had functionality to like not speak, but to be able to try to tell them that I was, exactly. And I was moving my hands and I was moving my foot, but I couldn't tell that I was. And then, ultimately the second shot of Valium broke up the blood clot to my brain. And then I woke up and I was like, restroom, wash your hands. And then the nurse came running in and was like, okay, you're functional.
So the Valium actually helped because it thinned the blood in the...
Yeah, so Valium has a blood thinner in it. And a stroke is a blood clot to your brain. So it basically just broke it up. And I was just really lucky. Like everyone just says you're a miracle case.
And because, really it wasn't... They always say, like, when I've seen stroke adverts on television, it's like, you've got to act quick.
Exactly.
And obviously they didn't know for that long.
Well, they didn't know, but they acted on what they did know because I was lucky because, on a ship, we skate here. The medical ward's right down there. They wheeled me in a chair with my skates and a blanket over me. And then as soon as all these doctors got to me, they were really confused. And then in their minds, they were thinking, once I started to speak, they thought maybe she had a panic attack. And I was like, a panic attack after an ice show. Then they did the drug test and they're like, well, she wasn't on drugs in the middle of an ice show. I was like, clearly. And then they just had to test for everything. They ultimately said maybe it was a TIA, which is a transischemic attack, which is symptoms of a stroke, kind of panic attacky. So the following morning at like 6 a.m, they landed me off the ship in Tenerife in the Canary Islands. And I had been on that ship on and off for like 2 years at this point. So they just sent me with all of my stuff in the taxi. And I went to the hospital and they did an MRI. And they were like, they did an MRI and a CAT scan. And it was all in Spanish. And I had all these big scans. And they said, good news is it's not MS. And we don't think it's a brain tumor. And I was
good.
And I was like, I'm 24. I brought my friend who's crying. And I was just like, not even there. And he said, but we need to keep you. So they did all these tests. So I stayed in Tenerife for 9 days with no one by myself because the ship had to keep going.
That's
so the ship
so
has to
awful.
go. It was awful, yeah.
Terrifying.
So the ship had to cross the Atlantic. So it was kind of like the perfect storm. It was everything happened at the right time because had it not happened on that day, I would have crossed the Atlantic and they would have maybe helicopter evacuated. It would have been way worse. So they basically tested me for everything and they were like, it's a stroke. And I was like, these Spanish doctors don't speak English and they don't know what they're talking about. So I flew to Miami where the ship's medical teams are. And they said, well, we need to test you again. So they did all the same tests again. At this point, my mom flew down to Miami. They weren't letting my family come to see me because they were like, she's going to be home soon. It's not that bad. She's talking. And I was speaking, but I was slurring my words and, like a table was a shoe. Like things just weren't making sense. I was saying the wrong words. And so, they tested me. They're like, you have a stroke. You had a stroke.
So crazy. Did they say what could have brought that on at such a young age?
So then after they find out that they determine that it's a stroke, then they have to test you for everything else as to why you would have a stroke. So they test like your arteries and everything else. And they do angiograms and all these tests. And ultimately the final test, and it's a good story now, but the final day of my testing, I was at Miami. My mom was with me and I got an email and the email said, congratulations, we've selected you for Dancing on Ice, for the Amsterdam Dancing on Ice. You'll start December 15th. This was November 19th. You'll start December 15th and this is how it's going to be. Here's your salary. Here's this, that, and the other. And I got the contract through. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So at this point, my mom and I are like, get the last test done. It was a migraine. These doctors don't know what they're talking about. I was in massive denial. And then they finally say, we have to test you. We can't let you leave without doing this final test. They put a tube down your throat and they put you to sleep and they check your heart. And the final test determined that I had a hole in my heart.
No
from birth.
way.
Yeah.
So is that fixed? Can you fix it on your heart?
So they gave me surgery. So basically it's called a patent foramen ovale or ovale or something. And what it is, it's a hole in your heart. Some people have them from birth. It's a birth defect that could be hereditary. They don't really know much research about it, but 6 years before my surgery, they would have done it open heart surgery. But they said to me, well, good news is we can fix it. Or bad news is if we don't fix it, you just live on blood thinners for the rest of your life, but you can't skate anymore.
So you're like, nope.
I was like, I have a contract to go to in a month, so you need to fix it.
I need to go to work.
Yeah. So literally this was on a Friday, and on the following Monday, they gave me heart surgery.
Well, and then you managed to go straight to work on the... So you were so lucky that there was no like real long-term after effects. Yeah, so to close up the hole in your heart, they can go through I think it's your femoral artery or something. They go through your groin and they go up, they put a camera on one side and they put the device in on the other. I know, it's disgusting. And I had never even broken a bone. I had never even I'd gotten stitches. Now you're having heart surgery. And I was like, go big, right? So that happened. And then basically on that Monday, I stayed in overnight, I think 1 or 2 nights. And then they sent me home, I think 10 days later from Florida. I flew home and then I just tried to get on with the show. I didn't tell anyone. And then it came out halfway through, you have severe PTSD after it. It's a traumatic experience. And I've just had a stroke a month ago and just had heart surgery 2 weeks ago. And I get there and I meet my partner and I'm like, don't touch me. Be careful. If you pull me in one way, it's going to hurt. And and then it was 3 months later, 3 months to the day that we won the show. I mean, it just shows such incredible strength and as you as a person to have literally gone through something that is so rare and then come out on top and now you're winning Dancing on Ice all the time and you do all this. It's really incredible. It was amazing, but to be fair, I think, it's a great story now. It was really scary at the time. Yeah. But after it, the hardest part was my family had to get tested because they think maybe it's hereditary. So my little cousins get tested. My mom gets tested. My dad gets tested, grandparents, everything. And ultimately they find out that my mom has a hole in her heart. No way. So they're like, oh, wow, you have a hole. We're going to monitor you. I think she was 57 at the time. And they said, just, take an aspirin a day. I was on blood thinners and aspirin for a while. And they said, but you're in great shape. Stay in good shape. They test my dad and they find out, nope, you're fine. Go live your life. My dad's like, yes. You got crack on. Amazing. But then a year and a half after, my dad had a stroke. Wow. Yeah. So my dad had a stroke a year and a half after mine. They went back. They retested. He had a hole in his heart. So both your parents had the hole? Yeah, so I was like the combination. That's crazy. And so my dad ended up having heart surgery. Yeah. So me and my dad you could teach him, got this dad, I can get you through this. Fine. Do you know what's so nice? It's it's just watching or hearing your story and you're still going strong and getting stuff done. And I think that's amazing and inspirational to everyone. So now I'm going to do a quick fire question round. Okay. I'm stuck. In my drawer here, I keep these questions to ask people. Oh, no. I have to have the answers because I don't know any of the answers myself. So I'm going to find a nice category for you. No, are they hard questions? Well, some of them I've learned quite a lot since I've been doing this so far. Okay, we'll do the celebrity round. Okay. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. And I really wish I could say you could win something, but I have no gifts to give. So I think I'm going to stick to the producers and be like, come on, I need to offer someone a prize. Okay, so which footballer has the most Instagram followers in the world as of 2020? Is it David Beckham, Leo Messi, or Cristiano Ronaldo? I think Kleiny would kill me if I got this wrong. I think it's C. Is it Cristiano? Yes, you got it right. You're in. Okay. Right, where's a good one? Here we go. Which celebrity was a victim of an infamous wardrobe malfunction during the 2004 Super Bowl halftime show? Was it A, Madonna, B, Janet Jackson, or C, Lady Gaga? B, Janet Jackson. Yes! I'm good at this stuff. Lady Gaga was in my dream last night. Really? Yeah. Walking down by the church in my local town. Very peculiar dreams. Okay, next one. I think you know this one. Oh, should I do the other? Okay. Which professional basketball player did Madonna have an affair with in the mid-1990s? Was it A, Dennis Rodman, B, Michael Jordan, or C, Shaquille O'Neal? Dennis Rodman. Yes, it was 3 out of 3. Someone give the girl a present. Come on. Someone give the girl a gift. No one has got 3 out of 3 yet. You've got this. Well, look, Alex, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story because that's going to help so many other people as well. And we think you're amazing. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
darling, I love you, I